shifts my positionality. Okay, anybody in phone line want to ask anything or comment? Have a script you want to talk about? Or anywhere you're struggling with your kid work? I guess you're all there, huh? Are you sleepy?
Yeah.
Is it nap time? Lynn?
Dulcie?
Yes. Oh, go ahead.
This is Maria.
Hi, Maria.
One of the beautiful parts of doing the kid work for me has been the determination to do it, and like you said, the pain and all of that. But the gift was, and working through it, and then feeling that humility, feeling, understanding what really happened, that after that when you can actually, I actually felt the love for my mom, even though she's gone. And I realized that it wasn't really the love for my mom, it was just what I was needing was to feel that love. And so it was doing the work just brought that love in my heart. After I felt the compassion and all the things the beautiful things that come as a result of doing this very hard work.
Yes. Thank you, honey. Yes, when we actually get down to investigating, like that person that's, you work with, you don't know, but they go home to a kid in an iron lung, or a mother who's, we don't know what their journey is that's causing them to act out the way they do and be threatened by us, and we don't know it. And we sometimes are shocked when we actually find out what abuse they've gone through in their life to get them to that point. And it always gets back to that feeling of God's love and that humility of I of my own self am nothing. The Father within doeth the work. I and my Father are one. And then Barbara had a wonderful, it's gone. It's gone. It may come back. Okay. Oh, no, the axiom. Nothing can happen. This is Joel's via Barbara. Nothing can happen to me that's not an outpicturing of my own state of consciousness. Now, that doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It doesn't mean I was so low to have created blah, blah. What it means is I must learn to live as every moment I possibly can in spiritual adult / Christ consciousness / Why? Because nothing else works. We talk about being addicted people. I am addicted to feeling that presence of God, and I don't want any of these things. There's two things about this path, and this came from Barbara Muhl, and it's right on. It's like we're on this path of Christ consciousness and recognition of the presence. There's only two things that human error / devil / carnal mind, whatever you want to call it, cannot get on the path. But two things. It can either scare you off, and then it has you, or it can distract you off with the glitz or the glamour, and then it has you. But it can't get on the path. It can only get you to get off because you're scared, or find that something else is more interesting, more dazzling. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And that's comforting. Oh, whoops, back on course. Back on course. You know, there I went astray. That's a dead end down that way. No, back home. Come home. Come home. Come home. Okay. Let's do a little guided imagery with the kid. And this is just to get yourself in perspective of what's really, really important in your life. And I don't know what age your kid is going to be, but you have to go with her. You just invite her, him or her. Invite them to come along. So everybody take a deep breath and drop deep down into home, right there where you are, regardless of anybody on the external. Just come home unto self, unto soul. And knowing what you know, knowing what you don't know, we're going to prepare for a sailing trip. We have a boat, and we're allowed to bring on that boat 3 people, and we're allowed to bring 3 things. Now the food is already there. The things you need to maintain your physical body is there. But what 3 things would you bring with you that you cannot leave behind? Well, let's make it 5 people. I want to make it 5 people and 5 things. So you're going to gather your people that are the most important, that make you feel the best about you, and that you love being around. And you can recognize the Christ in them and they in you. Now bring those 5 people. And now bring the 5 things you want to take with you. They can be books or music or plants or animals. Bring the 5 things. And they're going to go with you. Go ahead. What?
Do they have to be living people?
No. Anybody you want, including ascended masters. And get them on your boat. And see if this is what the kid wants to bring along. If she got what she wants. Is the spiritual adult got what they want? And come on board. And then we're going to set sail. And this gets down to us really knowing what is really, really important to us in our life. Because this is it. We're going to go off with this. Just us. And of course, Spirit Self. 5 people. And 5 things. We're going to sail along. Going to breathe in and out. I'm going to take a little journey through some questions. And the kid is going to do these questions. As I ask them, just let them wash over you, and if they apply, if they don't, just let them go by. What neglect and abuse did I experience growing up? And let the kid name it, and let the kid claim it, the pain, and then let the kid throw it overboard. Done. Name it, claim it, dump it. Who in my childhood displayed these behaviors of neglect? And throw that overboard. Done with it. How did I learn that I wasn't good enough? Or where did I learn that I thought I was better than? When do you remember feeling not good enough or better than? Bring it up, get clear on it, and be done with it. Overboard it goes. We don't need it on this journey. When do I first remember denying my own feelings and thoughts? Can I remember an instance when I put someone else's feelings and thoughts ahead of my own? Go in and get that kid out of there. Tell her he or she never has to do that again. Rescue her out of that situation. Now, on your list of the things you most never wanted to happen to you, let's go to one of the first instances, the one that popped into your mind when I said that, as uncomfortable as it might still be. You, as spiritual adult, is going to go into that situation, and you're going to grab that kid up and you're going to get her out of there, and you're going to say, come on with me, I'm going to take care of you now. We'll never let this happen to you again. And now let that event go, let it dissolve into the nothingness that it was. You've got your kid. Where and when was I told that I would need a relationship to make me whole? Remember the song, remember the dance, remember the people, remember the story. Where did I get that I wouldn't be whole without a relationship? Find that place. And go in there and stand up and say, that's ridiculous. What a lie. I stand before you in and as my God, whole and complete. And I never have to believe that lie again unless I want the pain back. It is I, here, now, present, whole and complete, standing tall, knowing I and my Father are one. Find an instance, this is the last one we're going to do. Find an instant that you feel stuck, that you feel your kid is still stuck in the story or in the painful situation that you haven't been able to let go, and that every time you think of it, it gives you a grunge in your stomach. You're not quite finished with it. Find that situation, the thing you most never wanted to have happen to you. Now your spiritual adult and your kid are going to go into that situation, and your spiritual adult is going to let the curtain come down on that play and is going to grab that child up and bring her home unto spirit self. Never will you have to endure that again. For I and my Father are one. I, God, and watch it dissolve into the nothingness, into the impersonal, old story. Feel the freedom. Feel the joy of coming home, knowing I always, always have that relationship with my spiritual adult who can carry me through any situation, any negative person. And now find yourself on that boat. And pick one thing of your 5 things that you brought with you to throw overboard. Of those 5 things, what can you let go of that you really maybe can do without? Now the captain is telling you that you've got to let go of one of the people, that they've got to move on down in their own journey. You brought them on board, but you kind of need to let them go now. You can get lighter, freer, more whole. We have to lighten the load. As we sail away, it has to get lighter. So now the 4 things left. Pick one more that has to be let go of and left behind. So that you're now down to three. Three things. Now this will be hard. Gotta let go of one more person. Doesn't mean you don't love them. Doesn't mean you won't miss them. It means that you're lightening your journey. Just you and Spirit Self. Hold on to your kid with your spiritual adult. Reassure that kid that it will have enough. And now let go of the next thing and the next person until you're standing there in pure light on this ship, whole and complete, without purse or script, without any accoutrements, without any person, just standing there as though you are this mass of light, and with light is the lightness of being, the freedom, the joy of wholeness, needing no one, needing no thing, but I. Wow. Ooh, presence, love, compassion, just be. Everyone you let go of, perfectly happy what they're doing. All those things we thought we needed. We let it go so that we can float. And we can be part of Spirit, experiencing Spirit Self alone, unencumbered. Thus, the lightness of being. Presence. You may have a color surrounding you. You may have myriads of angels surrounding you. You may hear music. But most of all, you know there's no fear in being all one. Alone, all one. Thus, the kid, everything is integrated into I, into God. One power, one self, one. And gently start to come back into the room. Feel your body in the chair. Start to look around. Get perspective of where you are in the physical. And let's see if you learned anything about what you're hanging on to that's unnecessary, or who. And if you haven't gotten rid of some of the fear of letting go of things or people to be the I that you are. So, who had an experience, or who found out something they didn't realize? Did you all jump over?
I did. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, hi. Yeah, that was really quite a big experience, the last one, when I thought, at first when you said let go of somebody, I couldn't let go of any of them, because I kind of confused it with throwing them away. And then as you went along with the exercise, it was like surrender and just giving it up and knowing that they were okay too. And just a letting go rather than a throwing away, which was really wonderful. And then you were talking about red circle and yellow circle and green circle, and that was just a really helpful thing to know, to learn. I've learned a lot today. It's been a really wonderful workshop, and I haven't had anything really big going on, or any big traumas or anything to talk about. But I just very, very much enjoyed a lot of the things that you were talking about, and the doing the work, the script and kid work, a year ago, before doing this kid and script, I was in a very different place. So it really has helped me a lot. So thank you.
Thank you, Norma. Thank you so much. Anybody else get perspective on the fear of being alone? Go ahead.
Hello, this is Kate.
Go ahead.
Hi. When the visualization started, I couldn't think of 5 people that made me happy.
I don't blame you.
So I got slightly confused, and then I relaxed and just let it come up, rather than trying to force it rationally. And I got 4 people, and surprisingly, one of them was my father. So it was really easy to let go of him, because he's slightly rude most of the time. But I also was very perplexed that I couldn't find 5 objects. And again, I could come up with 3. So either what I came away with was either I'm in denial or I'm in trust. Or I'm more in trust than I think I am.
Great. Well, I usually do it with 3, but something upped the ante today and said, no, you got to do 5. And I went, okay, well, we'll see what that brings.
Kate, this is Lee. I only found one thing to bring.
What was it? You going to tell us what it is?
Hell no. Yeah, I brought my iPod.
Yeah.
All the way.
I was going
Thank
to
you.
say your actual iPod. Yeah.
Brought my iPod with 140 gigabytes of truth.
Debbie.
So, at first I thought 3, okay, and then you said 5. Then when you had us throw them over, I go straight to rationalization, because I didn't want to throw anything or anyone over. I said, well, originally she was going to have us start with 3, so I said, okay, I can give up 2 things and 2 people. And then when you had us go from 3 down to 2, I was like, this is unacceptable. I can't do this, And then I thought, okay, well, just let me have one thing, one person. And when I realized, we're going to have to throw everything over, I just went into this state of panic. And the 2 things that I couldn't throw over, and it's no surprise to me that these are the 2 things or one person, one thing, but I want to be free of it.
Yeah.
It's like, it was my mom and my dog. And, when we did that visualization with the, what our adult looks like, that unconditionally loving presence, it's definitely like my mom. Mm-hmm. She's just like this unconditionally loving angel, and I don't know where to get that other than from her. I mean, I definitely haven't been able to give it to myself up to this point. But so I realized those are the two things that I really am scared to be on this planet without.
Mm-hmm. Did you have a sense of being a light being on you to yourself at the end? Or were you too upset about letting go of them?
No, it was like I jumped from being in that terror to feeling whole and complete, and feeling like that unconditional love I get from an animal and from my mother were a part of me, and I saw the color lavender all around me.
Wonderful.
But I couldn't actually visualize letting either of them go. Right. Like I just kind of like cut scene.
Well, they're showing you that aspect of you. And until you develop that within, that's a good, they're mirrors for you to show you what that looks like. And then you will embody that, and you will have that as you, and won't need them reflecting. So that's great, Debbie. Beautiful. Francesca.
This is kind of different, but when you said people, one of the first people was my dog, who I've lived alone with for 7.5 years.
Yeah.
And then when you said animals, I moved him over.
Oh.
And he's actually, I just found out on Monday, he's dying from bone cancer. So when you said, let go, it had a different meaning. But it was good because it startled me when you said that. And he was the last one I wanted to let go.
Sure.
But I said he should be the first. Because I have to let go of him. So it was kind of, it did lighten me up when the verbiage you used about letting him go on his own path. So I had that experience as far as letting him go and the process that we're going to have. And this is going to be the first time that I've actually lived completely by myself in 30 years that I've been out of the house. So there's been some fear around that.
Right.
But at the end of it, I was feeling lighter. So it's not a grief class, but that's the first thing I knew I had to let go. And just the feeling in the end that he's going to be okay. That I did feel lighter. It was really weird.
Good.
Yeah.
And the idea is to get to wholeness.
Yeah.
Apart from, and then doesn't mean we have to have these other things not be there, but be whole, whether they're there or not. Yes. Anne.
So in the beginning, when you had the kid identify what she had experienced that was maybe unjustified or not fair, or the difficulties in childhood, I have this huge story about what my mom has done to me. And when you asked that, it was like this clarity of maybe 3 specific things that were maybe not very fair that my kid remembers and experienced. All the rest of it, it's like my mom has fed it to me because of her own scripts and her own guilt, that she has told me over and over how terrible of a mom she was. She wasn't available. She didn't tell me she loved me. So all these years, I mean, just last week she wanted to take me to downtown LA to show me where she grew up, and it was just this flooding of guilt of things she didn't do when she was a kid. I mean, she didn't do as a mother for me when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. And just in that, it was like this ringing clarity that I only really experienced a few of those little things, but all the rest was almost like she's fed it to me for so long that it became my truth and my resentment. And so it was like this really hard thing to struggle through and shift in my relationship with her. But even just doing that was just this I only really remember a couple little things, but it's been built up as this huge thing, you know, that she's done and was so horrible, but I don't even really actually remember it like that. And I've just never even seen it like that before.
She's projected it out on you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow, good. Anybody else have any? Lynn?
I found it interesting because in the very beginning I was realizing that the people that I brought on this journey with me were people that I was like, well, that one's not going to get along with that one, so I can't bring that one. I was not everybody gets along, you know, and I got stuck on that one, you know. And then what I find is so interesting is that when I had to think of things, moments that were terrible or whatever, I kept on going back to my making, like when I was a real young child, assuming that these things were very bad, and there was nothing I could cling to, you know, except the moment in preschool. I have no story except for it was terrible and I wasn't going to fit in. I made up that story. Right. And then as I grew older, it just now, you know, the clarity, it's like my father not being that loving person, you know, it's not true. I don't really have it. The perception could either be this or this, and it used to be this, but now it's like I don't have any moments. And it's hard for me because I want to tell myself that, well, you just don't remember, you know, or you're not doing this visualization correctly.
Right.
You know, the demons in my head, you know, myself reading my own script. It just was, after a while, it got kind of like, I don't know, real kind of quiet. Mm-hmm. I didn't really have anything tangible I needed to bring on board with me. You know, I'm like, well, I guess I could bring a 12 and 12. You know? You know, I'm like, well, so it's just an interesting, but
it is interesting. Well, the teacher, I've had several, but Joel teachers, but the one that Barbara Muhl was a tough taskmaster, and she had a statement: break all attachments or they will be broken for you. So I realized that anything I was clinging to or attached to other than God, it was going to be easier for me to gently dissolve and move away from them than to have them ripped out from me, you know, and then I had a couple really ripped out from me and mostly it was the story around it. You know, the person, but it was the story around what I thought that person and I should be. You know, it was like, it was broken for me. And in that process, it was my last husband, and in that process, I was taught again by the scruff of the neck that just because the person was leaving didn't mean I had to stop loving. That the pain I was receiving was from thinking I had to stop loving that person because he was going away. So the lesson was I had to learn to love them when they cannot love you. And that my love had nothing to do with whether they received it, ever knew about it. It was like my heart got to expand and love unconditionally. And that was the biggest gift, you know. So we can love them regardless. Go ahead.
I still have such a hard time knowing what love unconditionally is. I just have such a hard time with that to someone who isn't as lovable.
Is what?
Isn't lovable. I mean,
their personality.
Yeah. And I don't want to do things because then that's expecting something in return. But I know that I have certain actions. I guess I just have to really look at it because this compassion is, it's my husband.
Well, I never had to see mine ever again, but I didn't stop my love. And I don't love the person or their behavior. I love their soul. You can't love behavior that's not wonderful. That's crazy. That's denial. That's a lie. But I can love that they're at the state and stage they are. And my only job is to love. It doesn't mean I have to put up with them. Just means I just get to, when I think of them, release. I'm going to read something here in a minute. But
Will you repeat that, Barbara Muhl?
break all attachments or they'll be broken for you. Damn. What an order. Paulina.
So it's just a question. I guess from a practical standpoint, it's like, okay, so Christy and I were talking at lunch about my mother, and she's a huge needle. I pushes tons of buttons, and then sitting here, now that she's not here, she's back in Canada, she's not in my house, it's like I can get back to that place of like having compassion and like seeing where things come from and like being able to hold her in that loving space, but I cannot do that when she is physically in the same space as me. So like, what does that look like on an actual practical day-to-day basis when they're in your space and it's not this theoretical concept while I'm sitting here peacefully? Does that
Keep
make
her
sense?
off your boat.
She wasn't even on the boat.
Yeah. We just be graceful and courteous. That's all. We just live with courtesy to the other person. And understanding, once I understood that every single person had their own contract with God and it was none of my business, that's when I could free them. It didn't mean I have to put up with them or hang around them or anything other than just what I know will make me, when I'm 80 years old sitting in a rocking chair, make me feel the best about me for whatever I did regarding those people. And I had a plan. My parents it was very difficult. I had a parent plan. I knew how many phone calls I could make a week without, once a week. I knew how many visits. I knew how long I could be in their presence before I was caught up into the family dynamic. 2 hours, if I went past 2 hours, it was all over, all bets are off, and I'm in it. So I learned the plan. It's like a sobriety plan. I learned what worked to serve the cool cup of water without me drowning. And I had to find that. Maybe having them in your home isn't the answer ever again. I learned to even stay in a motel, not stay in the home. I learned to not put myself in a position of jeopardy, to be caught up into the hypnosis of the nonsense of the family drama. It's whatever that would be. Debbie.
Yeah, I'm happy you brought that up. And what you're saying, because I always, and I don't know who decided this in my head, but I always think, no, the goal I want to strive for is to be able to not have to have those boundaries and be able to have them stay in my home and to be around them for endless hours and
Good luck.
Right. I don't think that, you know what I'm saying?
No, spiritually speaking.
Right.
But unfortunately, their humanness comes forth.
Yeah.
And so does mine. I can't, God can only meet me where I am. And it worked for me to have that plan. And I did the thing that I felt like when they were in hospitals or passing. I went and did what would make me feel the best about me. Okay, what are we doing here on time? I want to... Oh, we're getting there. Okay, we're almost ready to close then. I want to... Who's a really good reader? Paulina, would you read into the mic for... This is an Al-Anon piece of literature on detachment. But I just think it's absolutely gorgeous. And if you'll read that into the mic.
Just this part? Or the whole thing?
I don't know. Not the other side. The whole thing up to just that whole page.
Okay.
This is how to detach with love. Detachment.
You can sit in the chair.
Yeah.
I'm happy on the floor.
Detachment, I used to think was amputation. It isn't. This is the most beautiful piece. Okay, from Al-Anon.
Detachment. Detachment is neither kind nor unkind. It does not imply judgment or condemnation of the person or situation from which we are detaching. Separating ourselves from the adverse effects of another person's alcoholism can be a means of detaching. This does not necessarily require physical separation. Detachment can help us look at our situations realistically and objectively. Alcoholism is a family disease. Living with the effects of someone else's drinking is too devastating for most people to bear without help. In Al-Anon, we learn nothing we say or do can cause or stop someone else's drinking. We are not responsible for another person's disease or recovery from it. Detachment allows us to let go of our obsession with another's behavior and begin to lead happier and more manageable lives. Lives with dignity and rights, lives guided by a power greater than ourselves. We can still love the person without liking the behavior. In Al-Anon, we learn not to suffer because of the actions or reactions of other people, not to allow ourselves to be used or abused by others in the interest of another's recovery, not to do for others what they can do for themselves, not to manipulate situations so others will go to bed, eat, get up, pay bills, not drink, or behave as we see fit, not to cover up for another's mistakes or misdeeds, not to create a crisis, not to prevent a crisis if it is in the natural course of events. By learning to focus on ourselves, our attitudes and well-being improve. We allow the alcoholics in our lives to experience the consequences of their own actions.
Now, I transfer that word alcoholic and alcoholism to just plain human condition. It applies to everything, whether a person is using a substance or not. It applies to the family dynamic. And the most important promises we make is not to suffer because of the actions or reactions of other people, and not to allow ourselves to be used or abused by others in the interests of them, not to do for others what they can do for themselves, not to manipulate situations, not to cover up others' mistakes, not create a crisis, and not try to prevent crisis. So just letting everything take their natural course. Anyway, it's one of the most beautiful things to learn is detaching with love and compassion doesn't mean I have to place myself anywhere near the dynamics, So, okay, everybody, let's put the seal on it, and we'll gather together again tomorrow morning. The assignment overnight is, if I didn't have a script, what would I do with the rest of my life? What do I think my divine destiny track is? If I never ever have another script reading, where am I heading? Okay, and that you can write it down maybe overnight, bring it in the morning, and we'll work on that. So let's take a couple of minutes of silence.
Dulcie?
Yes?
Can I ask a question real quick, please?
Go ahead.
Would somebody please do the address again on Lee's website to get to the class information?
Yes.
Leela.org. Leela with 2 E's, 2 A's, .org / Dulcie's class.htm. And the D in Dulcie is capital. Listen. And the D in Dulcie is capital, and the C in class is capital. It's Dulcie's class.htm.
On what?
Yes. Lee's website is leelaa.org. Okay?
Yeah, but what did he say about the Dulcie's class? I didn't get that.
The D is capitalized and the C is capitalized.
Okay.
HDM.
TM.
HTM.
dulciesclass.htm. leesorg/dulciesclass.htm.
.htm. Okay, that's what I wasn't getting. .htm. Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, let's put the seal on it. Drop in to that light being that you are, to that very presence of God, regardless of any of this stuff we've talked about. Perfect presence. Thank you, and just let all this wash over you. Try not to think about it too much. Just let it be. See you tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock Pacific time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.